The sun has long since dipped below the horizon, leaving only a faint, bruised purple glow against the jagged edges of the mountains. Here, at the edge of the world, the air is beginning to sharpen. It carries the scent of salt, damp earth, and the lingering sweet perfume of wood smoke. You are standing on a narrow path that winds through the settlement. Under your feet, the ground is firm, a mix of packed soil and smooth river stones. The grass at the edges of the path is heavy with the first silver beads of evening dew. It is quiet. The kind of quiet that feels heavy and soft, like a thick wool blanket draped over the shoulders of the land. In the distance, the sea is a dark, rhythmic presence. You cannot see the waves, but you can hear them. They do not crash. They sigh. They slide across the pebbled beach, pulling back with a gentle, rattling sound as the water filters through the stones. It is the heartbeat of this place. Constant, patient. It has sounded this way for 1,000 years, and it will sound this way for 1,000 more, as you walk further into the heart of the village. The shapes of the longhouses begin to emerge from the gloom. They are low and sturdy, built from heavy timbers of oak and pine. Their roofs are curved like the hulls of overturned ships, covered in thick layers of turf and moss. In the daylight, this moss is a vibrant green, but now, under the moonlight, it looks like velvet, drinking in the shadows. The houses seem to grow out of the earth itself, rather than sitting upon it. They are anchored deep, designed to hold steady against the wind that occasionally sweeps down from the high glaciers. But tonight, the wind is a mere whisper. It moves through the eaves of the houses with a soft, whistling breath, carrying the faint creak of old wood. You pass a small workshop where a woodcarver spent his day. The door is pulled shut, but a few curled shavings of pale birch still lie on the ground outside. They look like fallen feathers in the moonlight. The smell of fresh sap lingers here, clean and sharp, mixing with the cooling air. Everything is resting. The tools are laid aside. The heavy hammers are silent. The anvils are cold. Further along, you see the flicker of a fire through a low doorway. It is not a bright, roaring flame, but a collection of glowing orange embers nestled in a stone hearth. The light it casts is warm and amber. It dances slowly across the rough-hewn beams of the ceiling, painting long, flickering shadows that move like slow water. Inside, the air is thick and still. It smells of dried herbs hanging from the rafters, thyme, yarrow, and mugwort. There is the scent of wool, too, and the faint, earthy aroma of grain stored in ceramic jars. You can hear the steady, rhythmic breathing of the families gathered inside. They are wrapped in heavy furs and woven blankets, tucked away into the wooden box beds that line the walls. There is a profound sense of safety within these thick wooden walls. The world outside is vast and cold, but here, there is the lingering warmth of the hearth and the closeness of kin. The fire pops occasionally, a tiny sound that only emphasizes the deep silence of the room. A single thread of smoke rises straight and true, seeking the small opening in the roof, drifting up toward the stars. You step back out into the night air. It feels crisp and refreshing after the warmth of the house. The sky above is a vast, endless ocean of indigo. Because there are no lights here to compete with the heavens, the stars are impossibly bright. They do not just twinkle. They glow with a steady, ancient light. You can see the great river of stars stretching from one horizon to the other, a dusting of silver flower across a dark floor. To the north, a pale green light begins to shimmer. It is faint at first, like a ghost of a cloud, but then it stretches and pulses. It moves with a liquid grace, waving slowly back and forth, as if stirred by an invisible hand. It is the light of the spirits, dancing in the cold heights of the sky. It casts no shadows on the ground below, but it turns the surface of the fjord into a mirror of shimmering emerald. The animals in the settlement are settling down as well. In a small enclosure made of wattle and daub, a few sheep huddled together for warmth. You can hear the soft rustle of their wool against the fence, and the occasional low, contented huff of a breath. A dog, curled in a circle near a doorway, lifts its head for a moment, its dark eyes reflecting the starlight, before tucking its nose back under its tail and drifting back to sleep. The village feels like a single, living organism that has finally slowed its pulse. The frantic energy of the harvest, the hauling of nets, and the chopping of wood has all faded away. What remains is the essence of the land, the stones, the water, and the trees. You find yourself walking toward the water's edge. The path turns to sand and then to smooth, cold pebbles. The air here is colder, tasting of salt and ancient ice. The longships are pulled high up on the shore, resting on wooden rollers. Their dragon-headed prows rise into the night sky, dark silhouettes against the stars. They look like sleeping creatures, their scales made of overlapping oak planks, waiting for the spring thaw. The water of the fjord is incredibly still. It is so clear and so dark that it looks like solid glass. Every star in the sky is reflected perfectly on its surface, so that as you stand on the shore, you feel as though you are floating in the very center of the universe. There is no beginning and no end, just the deep, dark blue of the night. A small stream trickles nearby, finding its way down from the mountain springs to join the sea. The sound of the water over the rocks is like a soft, melodic chatter. It is a busy sound, but it does not disturb the peace. It is part of the landscape's lullaby. You find a smooth, flat rock to sit upon for a moment. The cold of the stone seeps through your clothes, but it is a grounding, honest cold. It reminds you that you are part of this earth. You look back at the settlement. From here the longhouses look like small, protective mounds, huddled together against the vastness of the wilderness. There are no voices now, no laughter, no shouting, no songs. Only the sound of the world breathing, the rustle of dry grass, the sigh of the tide, the distant, lonely cry of an owl in the forest behind the village. The forest is a wall of deep shadow, where the pines stand tall and silent, their needles catching the frost. As you sit there, you feel a deep sense of belonging. The stresses of the world do not exist here. There is only the cycle of the day and the night, the turning of the seasons, the warmth of the fire, and the cold of the stars. It is a simple existence, tied to the rhythm of the tides and the light of the moon. The frost is beginning to bloom on the wooden railings of the ships and the edges of the stones. It creates intricate, crystalline patterns that sparkle like crushed diamonds. Your own breath comes out in a soft, white cloud, hanging in the air for a second before vanishing into the night. It is time to return. You walk slowly back up the path, your footsteps light on the earth. The village is waiting for you, wrapped in its coat of shadows and woods. The embers in the hearths are fading now, turning to soft gray ash, but the warmth remains trapped within the thick beams of the houses. You reach the door of your dwelling. The wood is cool and rough under your hand. Inside, the darkness is soft and welcoming. The air is still, and the world outside feels very far away. You settle into the layers of wool and fur, feeling the weight of the blankets pressing down on you, grounding you. The last thing you hear is the faint, rhythmic sigh of the sea, echoing the slow, steady beat of your own heart. The stars continue their long, slow march across the sky, watching over the silent houses, the sleeping ships, and the still, dark waters of the fjord. Everything is as it should be. Everything is at rest. The heavy wooden door creaks softly as it closes, shutting out the biting chill of the northern night. As you step inside, the world changes instantly. The sharp, salt-heavy air of the coast is replaced by a thick, comforting blanket of warmth. It is a weight you can feel on your skin, smelling of seasoned oak, dried heather, and the faint, sweet scent of beeswax. This is the heart of the Longhouse. It is a long, narrow world of shadow and amber light. The only illumination comes from the long hearth that stretches down the center of the room. The fire has burned down now, leaving a glowing river of red embers nestled between large, soot-stained stones. Occasionally, a small flame licks upward, casting dancing shadows against the high vaulted rafters. These beams are dark with age and the smoke of 1,000 fires, looking like the ribcage of a great, resting whale. You move quietly across the floor, which is made of hard-packed earth covered in a fresh layer of rushes and sweet-smelling straw. Every step produces a soft, muffled crunch. There is no hurry here. Time seems to slow down once you cross the threshold. The frantic work of the day, the grinding of grain, the mending of nets, the hauling of water has all been set aside. Along the walls, on either side of the central fire, are wide wooden platforms. These benches serve as the foundation of life inside the house. During the day, they are places to sit and work, but now, in the deep hours of the evening, they have been transformed into soft, inviting beds. You see the textures of the night laid out across these benches. There are thick sheepskin rugs with long ivory wool that looks like clouds in the dim light. There are heavy, hand-woven blankets made from the wool of the mountain sheep, dyed in soft earth tones of madder, red and welled yellow. These fabrics are coarse but warm, holding the heat of the body and the lingering scent of the hearth. As you walk deeper into the room, the sounds of the house begin to emerge from the silence. It is not a silent place, but the noises are rhythmic and peaceful. You hear the steady, slow breathing of the family, a soft chorus of life that rises and falls in unison. Somewhere in the shadows near the far end of the hall, a hound sighs in its sleep, its paws twitching as it dreams of the hunt. The air is slightly hazy with wood smoke, but it is not harsh. It drifts lazily upward, seeking the small smoke hole in the roof. Looking up, you can see a single, brilliant star, framed by the dark wooden opening. A distant diamond set against the velvet black of the sky. The smoke moves past it like a ghostly veil before disappearing into the cold night outside. In the corner, a loom stands silent. The weights, made of smooth river stones, hang motionless from the vertical threads. The half-finished cloth is a testament to the patience of the women who sit here by the light of the fire, their fingers moving with a grace born of years of practice. Beside the loom sits a basket of unspun wool, looking soft and silver in the moonlight that filters through the smoke hole. Near the center of the hall, a small wooden table holds a few remaining items from the evening meal. A hand-carved bowl made of birchwood, a horn spoon, smoothed by use, and a ceramic jug that smells faintly of honeyed mead. These objects are simple and functional, yet they possess a quiet beauty in their craftsmanship. They feel solid and honest. You find a place to sit on the edge of a bench. The wood is cool at first, then quickly warms beneath you. You run your hand over the surface of a fur rug. It is incredibly soft, the kind of warmth that sinks deep into your bones. The flickering light of the embers plays across the walls, revealing the intricate carvings on the pillars that support the roof. You can trace the shapes of interlocking vines and ancient symbols, carved with care to protect the house and those who dwell within it. The warmth of the fire is a living thing. It pulses gently, radiating outward from the stones. It creates a sanctuary against the wilderness. Outside, the frost is creeping across the grass, and the wind is whispering through the eaves. But inside, the air is still and safe. The thick walls, built of heavy timber and packed with turf, are a barrier that nothing can breach. You watch a single ember pop, sending a tiny spark drifting into the air like a firefly. It glows for a moment before vanishing into the shadows. The light is so dim now that the edges of the room seem to dissolve. The corners of the longhouse disappear into a soft, charcoal haze. You are left in a small circle of warmth, a tiny island of light in the vastness of the northern night. To your left, a mother adjusts a blanket over her child. The movement is slow and tender. The child stirs, makes a small, contented sound, and settles back into a deep, dreamless sleep. There is a profound sense of trust in this room. Everyone is vulnerable in sleep, yet here, surrounded by the strength of the wood and the presence of their kin. There is no fear. You lean back against the wall, feeling the strength of the oak timbers behind you. They have stood for generations, sheltering grandfathers and grandchildren alike. They have seen the coming and going of many winters, and they will see many more. You feel a connection to the past here, a sense that you are part of a long, unbroken chain of life. The shadows on the ceiling continue their slow, hypnotic dance. They move like the branches of a forest in a gentle breeze. Your eyes begin to feel heavy. The rhythmic breathing of the household acts like a lullaby, pulling you down toward the soft darkness of rest. The smell of the fire is fading slightly as the embers turn to gray ash, but the heat remains trapped in the stones. It is a slow-release warmth that will last until the first light of dawn. The air is perfectly balanced, cool enough to make the furs feel delicious, yet warm enough to keep the chill at bay. You listen to the house itself. It is alive with tiny sounds. The settling of the thatch on the roof, the minute contraction of the cooling wood, the distant, muffled sound of the sea against the shore, miles away, but still felt in the bones of the earth. These are the sounds of security. They tell you that all is well. One by one, the last of the glowing coals fades to a dull, deep crimson. The hall grows darker, the details of the carvings and the looms slipping away into the gloom. Only the silhouettes of the great pillars remain, standing like silent sentinels in the night. You pull a heavy wool rug up to your chin. It smells of the outdoors and the home fire. It is heavy and comforting, a physical weight that signals to your body that it is time to let go of the day. The thoughts of the world fall away, drifting upward like the smoke from the hearth. The Longhouse is a vessel, drifting through the dark ocean of the night. It carries its passengers safely toward the morning, cradling them in wood and fire and fur. There is nothing left to do. There is no one to answer to. There is only the warmth, the soft breath of your kin, and the deep, enduring peace of the hall. The darkness is not empty. It is full of the presence of those who have slept here before, a quiet company of shadows that watch over the living. You close your eyes, and the last flicker of light vanishes from your eyelids. The world is reduced to the feeling of the soft wool against your cheek and the steady, slow pulse of the dying fire deep in the straw. A small field mouse scurries silently, seeking a crumb. The hound twitches once more and then falls still. The star above the smoke hole moves on its celestial path, its light no longer reaching the floor. The air tonight is a living thing. It does not just sit still around you. It moves with a slow, deliberate grace, carrying the stories of the earth and the water. It is cold, yes, but it is a clean, honest cold. It is the kind of chill that makes you feel every inch of your own skin, reminding you that you are here, that you are alive, and that you are a small but welcome part of this vast, northern landscape. If you walk away from the warmth of the houses, toward the edge of the land where the grass meets the shore, the world opens up. There are no walls here, no fences to catch the wind. There is only the horizon, a soft, blurred line where the dark sea meets the even darker sky. The sound of the water is a constant companion. It is not the roar of a storm, but the steady, rhythmic pulse of the tide. It is the breath of the world. The fjord is a deep, silver-gray mirror. Even in the dim light of the moon, you can see the ripples moving across the surface, looking like silk being pulled slowly over stone. The water here is deep and ancient. It has traveled from the open ocean, winding its way through the narrow gaps in the mountains to rest here for a while. You can smell the salt, sharp and bracing, mixed with the earthy scent of wet seaweed and polished pebbles. The ships are resting now. They sit high on the beach, their wooden bellies cradled by the sand. They look different at night, less like tools of travel and more like sleeping animals. The salt has dried on their planks, leaving a white, ghostly crust that sparkles faintly in the moonlight. You can hear the wood creak occasionally, a soft, low groan, as the timbers settle into the sand. It is a peaceful sound, like the sigh of someone falling into a deep sleep after a long journey. As you turn your back to the sea, the land rises up to meet you. The mountains are the true masters of this place. They sit in a great circle around the water, their peaks lost in the swirling mist and the low-hanging clouds. They are made of old, hard granite, covered in a patchwork of dark moss and stubborn, wind-swept shrubs. In the moonlight, the patches of snow near the summits glow with a pale, blue light. These mountains have seen everything. They have watched the first trees take root and the first houses being built. They do not change. They provide a sense of permanence that is deeply settling. When you look up at them, your own worries seem to shrink. They are so large, and their time is so long, that the concerns of a single day simply drift away. Like smoke, between the shore and the steep slopes of the mountains lies the forest. It is a wall of deep, velvety green. The trees here are mostly pine and spruce, their needles thick and heavy. As you walk toward the tree line, the sound of the sea begins to fade, replaced by a different kind of silence. It is a heavy silence, a silence that feels as though it is made of layers of needles and moss. The floor of the forest is soft. Your footsteps make no sound as you move over the thick carpet of brown needles. The air here is different too. It is sheltered from the wind, and it smells of resin, dry wood, and the damp, sweet scent of earth that has never been turned by a plow. It is a dark place, even in the day, but at night, it feels like a sanctuary. If you stand perfectly still, you can hear the life of the forest. It is not loud. It is the tiny rustle of a mouse under a fallen log. It is the soft thump of a clump of snow falling from a high branch. It is the way the trees themselves seem to whisper as their branches touch, a dry, scaly sound that is strangely comforting. The forest is not a place to be feared. It is a place that holds the world steady. It is a roof of needles and a floor of moss. A place where you can disappear for a while and just be. High above the trees, the weather is moving. You can see the clouds drifting by, pulled by the currents of the upper air. Sometimes they are thin and wispy, like strands of unspun wool. Other times, they are thick and heavy, promising snow. There is a specific kind of quiet that comes just before the snow falls. The air becomes very still, and the sky turns a deep, bruised purple. When the first flakes begin to descend, they do not fall so much as float. They are large and crystalline, drifting down in a slow, wandering path. They land on your wool cloak, on the needles of the trees, and on the dark stones of the path. Each flake is a tiny, perfect star. As the snow begins to cover the ground, the world becomes even quieter. The snow acts as a blanket, soaking up what little sound remains, until there is nothing left but the sound of your own breathing. This is the rhythm of life here. It is a coexistence with the elements. You do not fight the wind. You lean into it. You do not fear the cold. You build a fire and wrap yourself in fur. There is a deep peace in accepting the world as it is vast, cold, and beautiful. You find a place to rest near a large, ancient oak tree that stands alone on a small hill. Its branches are bare now, stretching out like dark veins against the sky. From here, you can see the entire span of the landscape, the sea, the forest, and the mountains. You feel small, yes, but not insignificant. You are a witness to this beauty. You are the eyes and ears of the land. The sky begins to clear, and the stars emerge from behind the drifting clouds. They are so bright and so numerous that they seem to crowd the heavens. You can see the constellations that have guided sailors for generations. They are fixed and steady, a map of light that never fails. And then, the lights of the north begin to dance. They start as a pale, ghostly ribbon of white, stretching from one mountain peak to another. Then, they begin to glow with a soft green light, shimmering and waving like a curtain in a gentle breeze. They move with a liquid grace, expanding and contracting, pulsing with a light that seems to come from within the sky itself. There is no sound to the lights, but they feel as though they should have a melody as slow. ethereal song that matches their movement. The green light reflects off the snow and the surface of the fjord, turning the entire world into a dreamscape of emerald and shadow. It is a reminder that there is magic in the world, a wild and untamable beauty that exists simply because it can. You watch the lights until your eyes grow heavy, mesmerized by their slow, rhythmic dance. The cold is deeper now, but it no longer feels sharp. It feels like a signal to rest. The land is settling down for the long night. The animals are tucked into their burrows and dens, their hearts beating slowly in the dark. The trees are standing firm, their sap slowed to a crawl. The mountains are holding their breath. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The wool is warm and familiar. You look one last time at the sea, watching the white foam of a small wave catch the starlight before it vanishes into the pebbles. The tide is going out now, leaving behind a wide, wet expanse of shore that gleams like silver. There is no rush to return. The night is long, and the world is at peace. You can feel the weight of the silence pressing gently against you, a soothing pressure that tells you it is okay to let go. The wind has dropped to nothing. The only movement is the slow, silent dance of the lights above and the steady, eternal pull of the sea below. The world is wide. The world is cold. And the world is very, very quiet. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Cradled by the earth and watched over by the stars. The frost continues to grow, turning the grass into glass and the stones into jewels. The forest holds its breath. The mountains wait. The snow falls, flake by flake, grain by grain, covering the world in a soft, white sleep. The night has a way of making the world feel small, yet infinite, as the fire in the center of the longhouse sinks into a soft, red glow. The boundaries between what we can see and what we can only feel begin to blur. For those living in these wooden halls, the world was never just wood and stone, sea and sky. It was a place filled with presence. To close your eyes at night was not just to rest, but to settle into the hands of something much larger than oneself. The belief here is not like a book kept on a shelf. It is more like the air, or the way the salt clings to your skin after a day by the fjord. It is simply there. It is a quiet, steady understanding that the world is woven together by invisible threads. They call this weaving word. It is the great tapestry of all things, where every life, every breath, and every falling leaf is a single strand tucked into the weave by the hands of the Norns, the silent women who sit at the foot of the world-tree. Imagine, as you lie there in the dim light, that your life is a thread. It is not something to worry over or struggle against. There is a profound peace in knowing that the pattern is already being made. You do not have to carry the weight of the future on your shoulders, because the future is already held in the loom. The sound of the wind outside isn't just weather. It is the rustle of the great tapestry moving in the dark. It is a comforting thought to know that you belong to a design that began long before you were born and will continue long after you have. Returned to the earth, the gods are not distant kings on high thrones. They are felt in the tilt of the world. Odin is not just a name. He is the sudden silence in the forest, the lone traveler seen on a distant ridge at dusk, the one who sacrificed much for the sake of wisdom. He is the patron of the quiet mind and the deep thought. When you sit by the fire and wonder about the stars, you are walking in his footsteps. He is the breath of inspiration that comes when the house is still, and the world is waiting. And then there is the warmth of the earth itself. There is a gentleness in the way the land is perceived. The spirits of the fields, the landvettir, are the silent guardians of the farmstead. They live in the old, moss-covered stones and the roots of the ancient oaks. To live well is to live in friendship with them. It is a quiet relationship of respect. You leave a small bowl of ale by a stone, or you speak softly when you enter a clearing. It is an acknowledgement that we are guests here, sharing the world with beings who have watched the mountains grow as the night deepens. You might think of the great tree, It is the pillar of the universe, with its roots reaching deep into the cold wells of the earth, and its branches touching the high, starry heavens. Even now, in the silence, the tree is humming. It carries the life force of all the worlds through its bark. The longhouse you sleep in, with its heavy timber pillars, is a small reflection of that great tree. You are tucked safely between the roots and the branches, held in the sturdy wood of existence. There is a soft, mystical quality to the way the moon reflects off the water of the fjord tonight. In that light, it is easy to imagine the goddess Freya moving across the landscape. She is the beauty in the world, the gold in the sunlight, and the silver in the tears of the morning dew. Her presence is not one of command, but of grace. She reminds the heart that despite the long winters and the hard work, the world is a place of immense, quiet loveliness. Her spirit is in the warmth of the fur blankets and the soft glow of the amber beads worn around the neck. The rituals of the night are simple. There are no loud prayers or grand displays. It is the way a father places his hand on the doorpost as he locks up for the night, a silent word of thanks for the protection of the house. It is the way a mother hums a low tune to her child, a melody that has been passed down through generations, carrying with it the safety of the ancestors. These are the people who came before, the spirits of the grandmothers and grandfathers who still linger in the shadows of the rafters, watching over the hearth they once tended. To believe in this way is to never be truly alone. Even in the deepest, darkest winter night, the world is crowded with life. The ancestors are there, the gods are wandering the high paths, and the land spirits are resting in the soil. There is a deep, resonant safety in this. You are part of a family that spans time and space. When you drift toward sleep, you are falling into the collective memory of your people, protected by the same stars and the same stories that guided them. The transition from wakefulness to sleep is like the transition from the world of men to the world of dreams. It is a thin veil. In the quiet, you might hear the soft crackle of the cooling embers and think of the great fire at the beginning of time. You might hear the distant cry of a bird and think of Odin's ravens, bringing word of the world's peace. Every sound is an echo of a deeper truth. There is no fear of the dark here. The darkness is a womb, a place of growth and rest. It is where the seeds wait for the spring and where the mind goes to find the wisdom of the gods. The gods themselves sleep, their great work paused until the sun rises over the eastern mountains. If the masters of the world can rest, then so can you. The loom of fate will keep turning without your effort. The great tree will keep standing without your help. The air in the longhouse is perfectly still now. The smoke has all but vanished, leaving the scent of old wood and the clean, cold smell of the night air filtering through the eaves. The darkness is soft, like a layer of soot or a piece of dark velvet. It smooths over the edges of the room, turning the benches and the chests into gentle, rounded shapes. You feel the weight of the blankets, a physical reminder of the earth's protection. You feel the slow pulse of your own heart, a steady drumbeat that matches the rhythm of the tides outside. The gods are not demanding, they are present. They are the silence between the words. They are the space between the stars. The mountains outside are draped in moonlight, their jagged edges softened by the silver glow. They stand as silent witnesses to the night, their stone hearts beating in a slow, geological time. Inside, the fire has become a single, glowing eye of red light, a small sun in the center of your world, slowly fading as it prepares to be reborn in the morning. Your thoughts drift like the last of the smoke. You think of the sea, the great, dark ocean that encircles the world. It is the source of life and the end of all journeys. Its waves are the breath of the world's serpent, a slow and eternal movement that cradles the land. Even the sea is resting tonight, its surface as calm as a sheet of dark glass, reflecting the gods' own lanterns in the sky. Everything is held. Everything is known. The Norns have tucked the ends of the day's threads into the weave, and the pattern is beautiful. There is nothing left to do but exist in the quiet grace of this moment. The world is old, the gods are wise, and the night is kind. The silence grows deeper, a heavy and comfortable blanket. The stars move on their silent, celestial paths, watching over the sleepers in the hall. The world tree shivers slightly in the cosmic wind, but its roots are deep, and its branches are strong. You are safe. You are part of the weave. You are resting in the heart of the world. The glow of the hearth fades to a soft, charcoal gray. The shadows settle into their permanent places for the night. The breathing in the room is slow and deep, a soft, communal sigh that marks the passage of time. The night is a long, slow river, and you are drifting peacefully upon its surface. The gods are near. The earth is firm. The sleep is coming. The light of the early morning is not a sudden thing. It arrives as a slow, pale gray wash that gradually lifts the shadows from the wooden walls of the longhouse. There is no urgency to the waking here. The rhythm of the day is dictated by the sun and the season, not by a clock. You listen to the first few sounds of the morning, the soft clatter of a wooden bucket, the distant lowing of a cow in the pasture, and the rhythmic shush of a broom moving across the packed earth floor as you step outside. The world is still draped in a thin, silvery mist that clings to the eaves of the houses and curls around the trunks of the pines. The grass is cold and wet, a bracing sensation against your feet. This is the time of quiet effort. The work ahead is not a burden. It is a series of familiar movements, a conversation between the people and the land that has been going on for generations. Down by the shore, the fishing boats are being prepared. There is no shouting, only the low murmur of voices and the sound of oars being settled into their locks. The water is as smooth as polished slate. You watch as a small boat pushes off, its prow cutting a silent, V-shaped wake through the mist. The work of the sea is a patient one. It involves the slow casting of nets and the long wait as the boat drifts with the tide. It is a time for thought, for watching the birds circle high above, and for feeling the steady pull of the deep water beneath the hull. Back in the village, the air begins to warm as the sun climbs higher. In the small garden plots tucked between the houses, the earth is being turned. The smell of damp soil is rich and heavy, a scent that speaks of growth and sustenance. The tools are simple wooden spades tipped with iron or handheld hoes. The movements are repetitive and meditative. You push the blade into the earth, turn the soil, and break the clods. It is a slow dance with the ground, a way of grounding oneself in the physical reality of the world near the center of the settlement. A woman sits on a low stool, her hands busy with the wool of the summer shearing. The spinning of yarn is perhaps the most rhythmic of all tasks. The drop spindle whirs in a constant, dizzying circle, drawing out the raw, clouded wool into a strong, even thread. The sound is a tiny, persistent hum, like the wings of a bee. It is a task that allows the mind to wander while the fingers remain precise. She works with a calm focus, her eyes fixed on the twisting fiber, her breathing matching the steady pulse of the spindle. Further along the path, you pass the open door of a workshop. Here, a craftsman is carving a bowl from a block of green birch. The scritch-scratch of the iron blade against the wood is the only sound. He moves with a slow, deliberate grace, following the grain of the wood as if it were a map. He is not trying to force the wood into a shape. He is helping the shape emerge from the wood. Curled shavings of pale timber fall to the floor like autumn leaves, smelling of fresh sap and spring rain. There is a deep satisfaction in this kind of labor, the creation of something useful and beautiful from the raw materials of the forest. As the day progresses, the pace does not quicken. There is a sense that there is time for everything. If a neighbor passes by, the work stops for a moment. A few quiet words or exchanged news of the tide, the health of the livestock, or the ripening of the berries on the hillside. These pauses are not interruptions. They are part of the day's fabric. They are the stitches that hold the community together. The travel in this world is as slow as the work. If you were to leave the village to visit a neighboring farm, you would walk along narrow paths that follow the contours of the land. You would feel the climb of the hills in your legs and the coolness of the forest in your lungs. Every mile is earned. You notice the small things, the way the moss grows thickest on the north side of the rocks, the tracks of a deer in the mud, the specific blue of a mountain lake. To travel is to truly see the world, inch by inch. In the afternoon, the light begins to turn a deep, honeyed gold. The long shadows of the mountains stretch across the valley, signaling the approach of evening. The cows are driven back from the high pastures, their bells making a soft, melodic clank-clank that echoes off the stone cliffs. The sheep follow, a slow-moving wave of gray and white wool. There is a feeling of homecoming in this hour, a gathering in of all that has been scattered during the day. The hearths are lit once more, and the smell of cooking fires begins to drift through the air. It is a savory scent-dried fish, hearth cakes made of barley, and perhaps a stew of leeks and root vegetables. The heavy work of the day is finished. The tools are cleaned and put back in their places. The nets are hung to dry, looking like giant cobwebs against the dark wood of the sheds. You find yourself sitting on a large flat rock overlooking the fjord. The sun is sinking behind the jagged peaks, casting long fingers of orange and crimson across the water. The world feels immense and peaceful. You think of the effort of the day, the spinning, the carving, the digging, and you realize that none of it was hurried. It was all done with a quiet respect for the materials and the time it takes to do things well. The boats have returned from the sea, their hulls wet and dark. The men move slowly as they haul them back onto the rollers, their shadows long and lean on the sand. They carry the day's catch in woven baskets, the scales of the fish shimmering like coins in the fading light. There is a quiet pride in their movements, the weariness of a body that has done good work. As the twilight deepens into blue, the village settles into its evening routine. This is the time for the slow tasks that happen indoors, the mending of a tunic by the fire, the sharpening of a knife, the telling of a story to the children. The voices are low and gentle, blending with the crackle of the wood and the occasional pop of a spark. There is a profound sense of continuity in these actions. You are doing what your father did and what his father did before him. The rhythm of the work is the rhythm of the ancestors. It is a steady, slow-beating heart that sustains the life of the settlement. There is no need for more than what the day provides. The earth gives its grain, the sea gives its fish, and the forest gives its wood. The air outside is cooling rapidly now, the first touch of the night frost beginning to sparkle on the thatch of the roofs. You take a final walk through the village. The activity has moved entirely indoors. The windows' small openings covered with translucent bladder skin glow with a soft orange light. They look like warm eyes watching over the dark land. The silence of the night is not empty. It is a full, resonant quiet. It is the silence of things at rest. The fields are resting, the sea is resting, and the people are resting. The effort of the day has been folded away, like a piece of carefully woven cloth. You reach your own doorway and pause, looking back at the mountains and the sea one last time. The stars are beginning to appearing one by one in the vast, dark canopy. They seem to mirror the small lights of the village below. You step inside, leaving the cold night behind, and move toward the warmth of the hearth. The day is done. The work is finished. The rhythm of the world continues, slow and steady, as it always has and always will. The blankets are thick, the fire is low, and the sleep is waiting. The embers pulse with a soft, dying light, and the shadows climb the walls to the ceiling. The world outside is vast and still, and you are safe within the wood. There is no tomorrow to worry about, only the long, peaceful night. The sun has long since surrendered the sky, leaving behind a world draped in varying shades of indigo and charcoal. Outside, the village has fallen into a deep, resonant hush. The heavy work of the day, the hauling of timber, the mending of nets, The grinding of grain has reached its natural end. The tools have been leaned against the walls, and the animals have settled into the warmth of their hay. There is a profound sense of closure in the air, a quiet understanding that the time for doing has passed, and the time for being has arrived. You are standing for a final moment at the threshold of the Longhouse. The air out here is sharp and clean, tasting of the frost that is beginning to bloom on the smooth river stones. In the distance, the fjord is a dark, silent mirror, reflecting the first few stars that have pierced the velvet canopy above. The water does not crash. It merely sighs, a rhythmic, low sound, as it touches the pebbled shore and pulls away again. It is the heartbeat of the land, slow and steady, lulling the earth into its nightly rest. The silence is not an empty thing. It is full of the soft sounds of the northern night. The distant creak of a tall pine in the forest. The rustle of dry grass as a small creature finds its burrow. The faint high whistle of the wind as it brushes against the jagged peaks of the mountains. These sounds do not disturb the peace. They weave into it, creating a tapestry of stillness that settles over your shoulders like a heavy cloak. You turn and step inside, pulling the thick wooden door shut. The world of the night is left behind, replaced by the intimate, amber-lit world of the home. The air inside is thick with comfort. It smells of seasoned oak, of dried mountain herbs hanging from the rafters, and the sweet, lingering perfume of wood smoke. It is a warmth that you can feel deep in your chest, a safe, heavy warmth that tells your body it is time to let go. The Longhouse is a cathedral of shadow and light. The only illumination comes from the central hearth, where the fire has burned down to a bed of glowing orange embers. These embers pulse with a slow, hypnotic light, brightening and fading as if the house itself is breathing. The light they cast is soft and kind, smoothing over the rough edges of the carved pillars and the woven tapestries on the walls. The corners of the room are lost in a deep, velvety gloom, where the shadows move in a slow, rhythmic dance. You move quietly across the floor, your footsteps muffled by the thick layer of rushes and fragrant straw. Every movement is unhurried. There is no need for speed here. You are moving in harmony with the dying fire. You reach the wide wooden bench that serves as your bed, a place built deep into the sturdy frame of the house. It is lined with thick sheepskins and heavy wool blankets, materials that have been crafted by hand, carrying the care and the time of those who made them. As you sit on the edge of the bed, you feel the weight of the day beginning to lift. Your muscles, which have been taut with effort since the first light of dawn, start to soften. You run your hand over the long, ivory wool of a sheepskin. It is incredibly soft, yet substantial. It holds the warmth of the room and the memory of the sun. You lie back, and the furs rise up to meet you, cradling your body in a nest of soft, natural fibers. Above you, the great beams of the roof stretch into the darkness. They are like the branches of a vast, protective tree, holding the weight of the world away from you. You can see the faint glimmer of the stars through the small smoke hole high above. They look like distant, friendly eyes, watching over the settlement as it sleeps. The smoke from the embers rises in a thin, straight line, a silver thread seeking the sky, carrying the last thoughts of the day up into the infinite night. The house is full of the sounds of rest. You can hear the steady, slow breathing of the others in the hall's soft, communal rhythm that is deeply settling. It is the sound of a family, a community, held in the safety of the wood and the fire. Somewhere near the hearth, a hound sighs in its sleep and shifts its weight, its paws clicking softly on the stones. These are the sounds of security. They tell you that you are not alone, that you are protected, and that all is as it should be. The warmth of the fire is a physical presence. It moves over you in gentle waves, seeping through the layers of wool and fur to reach your skin. It feels like a hand resting lightly on your chest, grounding you to the earth. You find yourself watching a single, glowing coal in the hearth. It is a deep, resonant red, like the heart of the mountain. As you watch it, Your eyes begin to feel heavy. The light seems to blur at the edges, turning into a soft, golden haze that fills your vision. Your thoughts are beginning to slow down, drifting like the embers in the air. The tasks of tomorrow, the planting, the building, the sailing seem very far away, separated from you by a vast, dark ocean of time. They do not matter now. What matters is the texture of the blanket against your cheek, the scent of the wood, the rhythmic rise and fall of your own breath. You are sinking deeper into the furs, feeling as though you are becoming part of the bed, part of the house, part of the very ground beneath you. There is a profound stillness in your mind. The internal chatter, the planning, and the worrying has faded into a low hum, like the sound of a distant bee. You are letting go of the day, strand by strand, until you are left with nothing but the present moment. It is a moment of pure, uncomplicated peace. The world outside can be vast and cold, the sea can be restless, and the mountains can be steep. But here, within these walls, there is only the quiet and the dark. You feel a gentle heaviness in your limbs. Your feet, which have walked many miles today, feel light and warm. Your hands, which have gripped the oar and the axe, are open and relaxed. Every breath you take is a little deeper, a little slower, pulling in the calm of the room and releasing the last of the day's tension. The air is cool on your face but warm in your lungs, a perfect balance that invites the spirit to wander. In this space between waking and sleep, the myths and the stories of your people feel very close. You think of the great tree that holds the worlds together, its roots deep in the cool, dark earth. You feel as though you are resting amongst those roots, safe in the ancient foundations of the universe. The gods are not distant. They are in the silence. They are in the dying fire and the falling frost. They are the guardians of the threshold, watching over the transition from the world of light to the world of dreams. The fire has almost gone out now. Only a faint, crimson glow remains, a tiny spark in the heart of the longhouse. The shadows have claimed almost everything, wrapping the pillars and the benches in a soft, protective embrace. The darkness is not empty. It is a rich, fertile space where dreams begin to take root. You feel yourself drifting, moving like a boat released from its moorings, floating out onto a calm, dark sea. The rhythm of the tide outside seems to match the rhythm of your heart, slow, steady, eternal. You are no longer an individual struggling against the world. You are a part of the world's pulse. You are the wood, the stone, the water, and the star. The boundaries of your body seem to dissolve, and you are expanding into the quiet of the night. The last flicker of light vanishes from the hearth. The room is now a sanctuary of perfect shadow. The air is still, the breath is slow, and the world is waiting. You are falling, not into a void, but into a deep, welcoming rest that has been prepared for you since the beginning of time. The stars continue their silent journey across the sky. The frost continues to bloom on the stones. The fjord continues to sigh against the shore. And here, in the heart of the wood, in the warmth of the firs, the sleep has finally arrived. It is a sleep of the mountains, a sleep of the trees, a sleep of the ancient, enduring earth. The light of the world begins not with a flash, but with a slow, gray softening of the horizon. You are standing at the edge of the world, where the salt-heavy air of the fjord meets the cold, sweet breath of the pine forest. It is early, so early that the sun is still a secret kept by the mountains to the east. The grass beneath your feet is stiff with the first silver frost of the year, each blade a tiny crystalline spear that crunches softly under your weight. You breathe in, and the air is sharp and clean, filling your lungs with the scent of wet stone, distant wood smoke, and the ancient, unchanging sea. This is where your life unfolds, not in the rush of time, but in the steady, rhythmic pulse of the seasons, the tides, and the slow turning of the stars. You walk toward the settlement, a small cluster of low, sturdy houses that seem to have grown out of the earth itself. Their roofs are thick with moss and turf, blending into the hillside so perfectly that from a distance, the village is almost invisible. This is your home. It is a place of wood and stone, of heavy timbers and packed earth. As you move between the houses, the sounds of the morning begin to emerge. It is a gentle chorus, the muffled lowing of a cow in a nearby shed, the rhythmic think of a stone being used to sharpen a scythe, the soft crackle of a newly lit fire. There is no hurry here. The work of the day will be done, as it has always been done. With patient hands and quiet minds, you find yourself sitting by the water's edge. The fjord is a mirror of deep, dark glass, reflecting the jagged silhouettes of the peaks that hem it in. The water does not roar, it whispers. It slides across the smooth, dark pebbles of the beach, making a soft, rattling sound as it retreats. You watch the small ripples move across the surface, wondering how many generations have sat exactly where you are sitting, watching the same water. There is a great peace in this continuity. Your life is a thread in a tapestry that was started long ago. You do not need to invent the world. You only need to inhabit it. As the sun finally clears the mountaintops, the light turns from gray to a warm, pale gold. The mist that clung to the water begins to lift, curling away like smoke. You spend your morning with the wood. It is a slow, meditative task. You have a piece of oak, heavy and solid, and a small, sharp knife. You are not carving anything in particular, just smoothing the edges, feeling the grain of the wood beneath your thumb. The wood is cool and slightly damp, smelling of the deep forest. With every thin shaving that curls away, you feel a little more grounded. The world is made of these simple things: wood, iron, stone, breath. In the middle of the day, you walk through the village. You see the children playing near the animal pens, their voices low and musical. They are learning the world by touch. They feel the texture of the sheep's wool, the coolness of the mud, the warmth of a sun-baked rock. You see the elders sitting on benches in the sun, their faces lined like the bark of old trees. They do not say much. They don't need to. They have already seen 1,000 seasons, and they are content to simply feel the warmth of the light on their skin. There is a shared silence in the village that is more comforting than any conversation. It is the silence of people who know each other's hearts and the rhythm of the land they share. The afternoon is a time for the forest. You follow a path that winds upward, away from the salt and toward the shadows of the tall pines. The air here is different. It is still and heavy, smelling of resin and old needles. The sunlight filters through the high canopy in long, slanted beams, lighting up patches of emerald moss and pale ferns. You move slowly, your footsteps silenced by the soft floor of the woods. You are not looking for anything. You are just being present. You lean your back against a great, ancient tree and close your eyes. You can feel the life of the tree behind you, a slow, massive pulse that spans centuries. To the tree, your life is a brief, beautiful flicker. This thought does not make you feel small. It makes you feel safe. You are part of something that lasts. The weather here is a constant companion, a teacher of patience. Sometimes the rain comes, not as a storm, but as a fine, persistent mist that turns the world into a dream. You sit under the eaves of the longhouse and watch the droplets hang from the thatch, glowing like pearls before they fall. The rain brings out the scents of the earth, the rich, dark smell of the soil, and the sharp temps of the wet stone. You listen to the drip, drip, drip on the water barrels, a slow metronome that tells you there is nowhere else you need to be. The cold is not an enemy. It is a boundary. It defines the edges of the world, making the warmth of the fire and the closeness of your kin feel all the more precious as you grow older. The seasons seem to blend into one another. The frantic energy of youth, the desire to see what lies beyond the next mountain, begins to fade. It is replaced by a deep appreciation for the familiar. You know the exact way the light hits the fjord in the height of summer, and the way the shadows grow long and blue in the deep of winter. You know the sound of the wind before it brings the snow, a certain hollow whistle in the eaves. You find that you no longer need to travel far to find wonder. It is right here, in the way the frost patterns grow on the window skin, or the way the embers of the hearth look like a miniature city of fire. Your thoughts often turn to the threads of fate. You think of the unseen weaving that connects the bird on the branch to the fish in the stream to the person by the fire. It is a quiet belief, a steady knowing. You do not fear the end of the thread, for you see that nothing is ever truly lost. The leaf falls and becomes the soil. The wood burns and becomes the warmth. The breath leaves the body and becomes the wind. You accept your place in this cycle with a calm, peaceful heart. You are a guest of the earth, and the earth is a kind host. In the evenings, the village draws inward. The hearth is the center of the universe. You sit on the wide wooden benches, wrapped in a heavy wool blanket that smells of the sheep in the hearth. The fire is a living thing, crackling softly as it consumes the birch logs. You watch the flames blue at the base, orange and gold at the tips as they lick the air. The light dances across the rafters, casting long, wavering shadows that look like the movements of ancient giants. There is a shared silence here, a deep, collective rest. Someone might tell a story, their voice low and rhythmic, but the words are less important than the sound. The sound is a lullaby, a bridge between the waking world and the world of dreams. You think about the people who sat here before you. Your father, his mother, the ones whose names have been softened by time. You feel their presence in the curve of the wooden bowls and the smoothness of the door handle. They are not gone. They are woven into the house itself. You feel their strength in the sturdy pillars and their warmth in the stones of the hearth. You are never truly alone in the dark. You are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses, a long line of ancestors who all watched this same fire and felt this same peace. As the night deepens, the world outside becomes a vast, indigo mystery. You step out one last time to look at the sky. The stars are impossibly bright, a dusting of silver across the black velvet of the void. You see the great river of light that stretches from horizon to horizon, and you feel a sense of profound belonging. You are a part of this. The same elements that make the stars are the elements that make your bones. You breathe in the cold, night air, and it feels like a blessing. The mountains are dark silhouettes against the starlight, silent guardians of the valley. The fjord is a pool of shadow, its voice reduced to a faint, rhythmic sigh. Returning to the longhouse, you find the fire has settled into a bed of glowing coals. The warmth is steady and mellow. You settle into your bed, the furs heavy and soft over your tired limbs. Your body feels light, as if the efforts of the years are finally being released. Your thoughts are no longer sharp. They are soft and blurred, like the edges of a cloud. You listen to the house. The faint creak of the timber, the soft, regular breathing of those sleeping nearby, the occasional pop of a cooling ember. These are the sounds of safety. They are the sounds of home. You think of the journey of your life. It has been a long, slow walk through a beautiful world. There were days of light and days of shadow, but they were all part of the same path. You feel a deep, quiet gratitude for the wood you carved, the soil you turned, and the fires you sat beside. It was enough. It was more than enough. The world is continuing its slow, grand rotation, and you are content to move with it. The darkness in the room is soft and welcoming. It is not an absence of light, but a presence of peace. You close your eyes, and the images of the death of frost on the grass, the light on the water, the grain of the oak begin to fade. They turn into the colors of dreams, shifting and flowing like the northern lights. You are no longer holding on to anything. You are letting go, thread by thread, breath by breath. The weight of the furs is a comfort, a grounding force that tells you it is okay to rest. The silence grows deeper. It is a thick, velvet silence that muffles the world. The fire is now just a single, pulsing point of red in the dark. a tiny heart beating in the center of the room. You watch it through half-closed lids until it too disappears. There is only the dark and the warmth and the slow, steady rhythm of your own heart. You are drifting now, out onto the calm, dark sea of sleep.